Alrighty, guys. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I am your host, Patrick Vallejos, and we are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. This will be on the Abby and Libby case out of Delphi. I titled it Missing Pieces. We'll be discussing all the items and things that weren't mentioned in the trial and things that are still curious today. Good to see you, Metal Mama Michelle. CJK. Ziggy, good to see you. Outside of the grid. TJ, I heard an interesting conspiracy theory that maybe this whole lost tip, Shank. I don't know why anybody even mentions the name Shank. Narrative could just be a cover story to keep a family member who turned him in anonymously. I don't think Shank was ever involved in the lost tip narrative. I think somebody mistakenly made a YouTube video about that person, and now we have rumors till this day. It was testified in court by multiple people about the tip. The person that found it, Dan Doolin, testified about it. So I mean, it's a real thing. The narrative that was provided to the public, that's their story, and they're sticking to it. Is it the truth? That I don't know. One thing I have learned is that everybody is motivated in their own way. The person who found the tip, she's motivated to give her own narrative. The person who gave the interview, they're motivated to give their own version of what happened. Richard Allen is motivated to give his own version of what happened. So everybody that's involved in the lost tip, they all have their reasons for directing the narrative. And that's usually to make them seem like they weren't responsible or have anything to do with making the tip lost to begin with. Good to see you, CJK, Nixon, Wanda. Shout out to Missouri. Joe Newman. Shane, good to see you. Christine. Who am I missing? Oh, Jill. How you doing, Jill? Elizabeth Jones. Shout out to Scotland. Lynn, good to see you. Patty, how are you? Lynn, what do you mean no cover story? Are you referring to Richard Allen? Because one of the major or the main missing pieces is what the hell was Richard Allen doing that day? If he was with his sister and his mother-in-law, why weren't they asked, well, what was Richard Allen doing? What was he doing that morning? Why did he end up at the trails? How did he go from I'm here spending time with my family, I'm skipping a dinner, to I'm grabbing a six-pack and I'm committing a murder? I just don't understand how you can go through an entire trial and not discuss that. Like, what were you doing that day? We still have no clue of what Richard Allen was doing that day and what might have motivated him to commit these murders. And I'm learning that as I go along covering these cases, is that the motive really isn't the most important thing. That usually comes last. I'm learning that killers don't really need a motive. Sometimes they don't even know why they do what they do. So how do you catch a killer based off of motive when the killer's not even sure what motivated him or her to do what they did? So that's what I'm learning, is that the motive it's definitely secondary. But now that he's been convicted, we've gone through a trial, we still have no clue of what it could have been. What's up, Curious Charlie? Shout out to Cape Town, South Africa. Welcome in, Sleuth Crew. We're everywhere. It's not just a motto. H. Nixon says, I think they have Shank a clue of what they were looking for. Maybe find the name Richard. Yeah, if there was any hidden witnesses, it would have all come out during the trial. Now, if they have a confidential informant, that's different. Or other suspects, right? They can only talk about the evidence that they have against Richard Allen. So if they are considering other suspects, to even mention them during a trial is just opening up a whole nother can of worms that could become ammunition for a defense team. So another missing piece, Kagan Klein. If we only know 20% of what actually happened, and maybe less, um, I feel like the Keegan Klein could still be playing a huge part in what happened somehow. What's up, Big Country? What did Richard Allen do with his trophies? Crime scene was missing a pair of underwear and a sock. And we know that we're missing Richard Allen's cell phone. So where are the trophies? Some people have speculated that the underwear and the sock just were never recovered. Maybe they went downstream and were lost forever. I don't believe that to be the case. What's going on, Sensei? Welcome in. Elizabeth says Prof's video a couple of nights ago about the call was very interesting. Never heard of that person. I don't know who the Prof is. Never heard of him. Good to see you, Sparky. Yeah, Lynn, you know there's going to be a delay on the chat, so I need a little bit of context in the comments, just so I know what you're referring to. So, I mean, what was he doing that day? He woke up and did what? Did he kiss his wife before she went to work? Did he put on his favorite sweater? Did he mention normal shit like, oh, I got to take care of bills, or we might need some new tires on the Focus or on the Chrysler. I'm gonna have breakfast at this place. How do you get from hanging out with your mother, sister in Peru, right? Peru, the same place Keegan Klein is from, the creator of Anthony Shots, Mr. Log in, log out at 8 a.m. Richard Allen is there in the same town while that's happening. I mean, there's still a lot about this case that we don't know because Richard Allen isn't talking. And that's another question. We have a sentencing hearing coming up this Friday. Do you expect anything from Richard Allen? Do you expect an apology? Do you expect him to keep this a secret his entire life with some kind of hanging on to a hope that he might actually be free one day? I don't know, Joe. I'm thinking it was when I hear a criminal say, I got a six pack, if you're going to translate, you know, crime talk, to me, it's not a six pack. It's a bottle of like alcohol or something, something heavy, maybe even more, maybe meth. But what he's really trying to say is that he was under the influence. That's what the real answer is. It's not a six pack, may not even be beer. What he's telling us is I was under the influence. Half truths. The defense didn't give us the info because he did the murder. I don't think the defense team had the information. The only person who has this information would be whoever Richard Allen came in contact with that day. When he woke up, who was there? Was his wife there? What was going on? What were some of the things that he was saying? What were his plans that day? Okay, why did he skip out lunch? And is that even true? He could have been with his mother and his sister, and they never even went to lunch. He just went and did his own thing. For all we know, he was with Kagan Klein. Good to see you, Metal Mama Michelle. Lulu Gumshoe, good to see you. Well, Richard Allen is a convicted killer. If he had an alibi, that wouldn't be the case. The question is, what is going on with these missing pieces? I just don't understand how you go from being with your mother and your sister, skipping out on lunch, to killing two teenage girls in a park a mile from your home. What are you doing in Delphi? What are you doing at the trails? And why did you go home and lair up? We're missing a part of this story. What's up, GP? Shane, I never believed in coincidences until this case. Yeah, coincidences are a real thing. That's how a lot of innocent people end up in prison. What's going on, Blind Squirrel? Lulu says he hid that stuff. That's what I think. I think he still has the phone. I think the phone is somewhere safe. I think he might have photographs on that phone, maybe even video. I mean, why not? He went home, he layered up. Why are you layering up on a warm day? That shows premeditation. So why not bring a phone specifically to document what you're doing? If the crime was pre-planned enough to layer up, to get liquored up beforehand, he obviously had a plan. Why not bring a device to document what you're planning to do? What's up, Tina Stare? I just don't understand how we can go through an entire trial and not have any idea of what his day to day was from the night before on to the morning and up until the crime. What's up, Miss Dog Lover? Good afternoon to you. What's up, Glam Van? Sensei says, Sleuth, they did a creek search, didn't they? And then people were going to the Monon Bridge. I would have thought that if the sock and underwear were there, I'd have thought they would have found too. I agree. And the FBI put in Ron Logan's affidavit that the killer took trophies. I think he kept the phone. He kept the underwear and the sock, and they are together. Miss Dog Lover says, yeah, exactly. That was the trigger. What, him being with his mother and his sister? What if that just happened? What if the night before he was with somebody else? What if he had access to the Anthony Shots account, was communicating with Libby and Abby the night before? They were up late and up early in the morning. No, we don't post other YouTube channels here, especially when I don't know who they are. CJK says, I truly can't imagine him opening his mouth. I thought he would. I thought he would buckle under the pressure. But he didn't. He stayed 100% cold-blooded the entire time. Thank you, Sparky. If you guys could hit that thumbs up or go share the video if you can. They had those guys in the water the day the girls were found. That's when I was thinking about, and onwards. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm sure they looked downstream. I'm in agreement with you, Sensei. I think they would have found him if they were there. Where are they? Sock, underwear, and the missing phone, I believe, are together. Yeah, do you guys think he's going to talk at the sentencing hearing? Remember, he's being sentenced on the 20th, and he's going to be giving an opportunity to speak. The victims are going to be able to speak to him. I don't think he's going to say anything. And if he's hoping to get an appeal, he won't apologize. He'll be admitting to guilt if he did that. Welcome in unindicted co-conspirator. Thanks, Sparky. Hey, Salty. Agreed. Which part is that? CJK, too many rumors. Only Alan himself knows the truth. The convicted BG killer. Well, he's in Peru the morning of the murders. The creator of the Anthony Shots account is in Peru at that very moment, logging in and logging out at 8 a.m. to two separate phones. Why is that? Coincidence? Maybe. But why did Richard Allen not go to lunch with his family, stop at his home, and lair up, and then go to the trails? Not only does he go to the trails, he shows up at the trails right when the girls are about to leave. And we don't know anything about what he was doing that day. Nobody asked his mother. Nobody asked his sister. What were you guys doing that day? Were you sitting down watching television? Were you having an argument? Was Richard Allen, did he seem off? Was he upset? I just don't understand how we can go through this entire trial and not have any clue of what this suspect was doing that day or the night before. Did he come stumbling in the door at 2 a.m. at night after being out with somebody who was not his wife? I mean, what if he was already mad about something? What if that was just kind of like something that he was doing that day and had nothing to do with what triggered him? What if he was already triggered? Like, I can't go to lunch with you guys because I'm triggered and there's something I have to go take care of. Abby and Libby were up late that night and up by 10 a.m. in the morning. What's up, Anna? We are missing a lot of parts of this story. I assume we will never see evidence or actual transcript of the trial. Weird stuff getting weirder. I mean, I'm not concerned about the transcript. I know we'll get all that. That'll be made public. We will have access to that. It's the things that weren't brought up in the trial. There's nothing to transcribe. They weren't even mentioned. What was Richard Allen doing on the 12th? Where was he? Who was with him? What was Richard Allen doing the morning of the 13th? Who was he with? How do you not have that information? And if he was with his mother and his sister, why weren't they asked? Could be. I mean, it could be. You could be right, Lulu. I just want to look a little bit further. That could be the trigger, right? We're hearing about childhood trauma that he mentioned during some of his confessions that he may have been molested himself as a child. That definitely fits the profile. What's going on, V. Marie? Yeah, Elizabeth. Unless you've done it dozens of times. What's up, JoJo? I wouldn't be surprised if the phone was hidden in a relative's garden. That's what I'm telling you. I think that he has these pieces, these items are hidden. I think they could still be accessible. I don't think he's going to have them anywhere near his home. If anything, I think he maybe even near his job site or a relative's home, a place where he would already be going there. He already has a reason to be in this area. It's not suspicious. Welcome in, rescue. Anna says both sides had weak presentations. Now we know a lot, but we have learned almost nothing. Well, we didn't learn anything because we weren't sitting on the jury, right? They got to see everything. They got to see Richard Allen swimming in his feces and, acting like this madman. They got to see what nobody else got to see. And the thing is everybody is giving the jury a hard time. But the truth is, if you were sitting in their seat, I guarantee you most likely, and if you saw what they saw, you would agree with them. You wouldn't be out here saying, oh, well, Richard Allen, there's not enough evidence. He might be innocent. Well, they got to see everything and you didn't. After Down the Hill, law enforcement barely know the exact conversation and act. CJK said Allen only knows it all. Yeah, will he talk? Are we going to get any of these missing pieces from him, from his own mouth? This Friday is the sentencing hearing at 9 a.m. Eastern time. We will be live for it, but they're going to go all day from, I think, 9 to 5. Lulu, he was probably still drunk. Yeah, because I don't know about hard drugs. I've never touched that kind of stuff, meth or anything like. I've never even come close to anything like that. So I don't know, but I do know about alcohol. It it comes in stages. There comes a point where you get energized, and you get kind of limber, and then you start to stumble, and then you turn into the drunk. So I'm wondering if at his peak of him being drunk or whatever it is, he's feeling nimble. That's might be the point where he's running across that bridge, where he's right at the peak of being under the influence. And I hear a lot of bad things about meth. Jojo says, I believe Anthony's shots definitely played a role. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And then to come to find out, Richard Allen is in Peru. I mean, this whole time we've had the suspect, Keegan Klein, right? Oh, the creator of the Anthony Shots account, the individual who said he was supposed to meet Libby there. We heard Libby was targeted. She was the one that was undressed, and looks like the majority of the brutality was taken out on her. But why? Richard Allen's leaving Peru, going home, layering up, and going directly to the trails. There's a story there. These are all actions from a story that we don't know. Or maybe we do know the story, but it's just not official yet. Will it ever be official? Richard Allen had a DSLR camera. Was it taken in as evidence? What's a DSLR camera? Blind. It's possible, Lulu. Remember, Richard Allen worked at the CVS right across the street. Libby's big sister, Kelsey, worked. Libby was there all the time. Did Richard Allen go there and have lunch? What about the CVS? I'm sure the girls went there. What's up, Brandon? And how do we know that Keegan Klein and Richard Allen weren't spending time together? I mean, how do we know that? Or somebody that Keegan Klein knows? We know he was in Peru. Nobody knew that. It's like we want to block it out of our mind. No conspiracy theories, no conspiracy theories. Do you know what Richard Allen was doing on the 12th? When Richard Allen spends time in Peru, what is he doing? Who is he with? I feel like the investigation isn't over. I feel like there's more people that could be involved, maybe not in the physical act. I feel like Richard Allen was motivated to silence those girls for whatever reason. Maybe to get what they promised him. GP says he'll never say a word. I think you might be right. I was naive at first to think, well, he's already caught. He's going through trial. He's not getting away with this. But I believe he convinced himself that he would get away with it, and he may still be convincing himself of that. Especially when you have attorneys that are telling you, like, look, you still have hope. We're still fighting this. You still have the appeal process. Now, if you have somebody with zero remorse, 100% just does not care about the lives that were taken, he's going to fight it all the way. And even continue to lie and lie until he starts to believe the lie for his own comfort. Lulu says he's going to act insane. Jojo, I don't believe he will speak. No, I think he's going to push for the appeal. V says the undergarments are up in smoke in that fire pit. You think he got rid of them? I don't think he could. I think he may have thought about it, understood that that would be the best thing to do, but I don't think he would have taken them to begin with. And as social media started getting their hands on the Delphi case and started spreading like wildfire, that only fueled his ego. Like he was the bridge guy. He's sitting in there and he's getting off on the fact that only he knows. Like, hey, I'm the killer. All these people all over the world are getting worked up about this case. Look at this sleuth guy over here. Like, he won't shut up about the killer and he's trying to figure out who's in that video. He's trying to piece together, man, they're so close, but only I know. Right? He's looking at the YouTube channels, he's joining the Facebook groups, and he loves it. There's part of him that just wants to scream it, I bet. Anna says there's a massive appeal and post-conviction relief effort ongoing at the moment. I doubt he will say anything. Shane says, I don't know. I think he might. Well, there's a chance. He's very unpredictable. You can never underestimate how cold-blooded somebody really is, especially when you're a person that cares and you think that you can get into the mind of these killers because you've been trying for so long. You think you got it down. And then every time you come across the bad guy, they finally got him. You're still shocked by the things that they do. Salty says we are missing something. What is that, Salty? What are we missing here? That's based in reality, right? Something that's tangible. Lisa, analyst that right because he wants people to keep money on his books. That does make sense, Lisa. If he continues to say, hey, I'm being framed, he might get a little bit of sympathy from his family and some of these weirdos that are out here fighting for him. But the moment that he says, yeah, I did it, that all goes away. There's no more support. I think you're right, Lisa. If he comes out and admits it, it's game over for him. All he gets is a bunch of I told you so's. No more commissary money. His wife will divorce him, and his attorneys are no longer interested in the appeal process. What's going on, Ziggy? Patty, Richard Allen got rid of everything after his video was made public. I believe he got rid of a laptop as well. He's guilty of sin. I haven't seen any mention of a laptop, but I wouldn't doubt it. He's had plenty of time to get rid of any evidence that he thinks might link him to this case. Everybody's like, oh, they didn't find anything on Richard Allen. No CSAM, no Odinism, no nothing. No shit. You think he's going to have a shrine in the room that he shares with his wife? Like, think about what you're saying here. This evidence is not anywhere near his home. If it is, it's going to be like the BTK and in a hole under his shed. And you wonder, well, did law enforcement check underneath the shed? Well, I'm done giving law enforcement too much credit, right? Because that I don't know. And honestly, I would doubt it if they did. Recently, the BTK just came out and said that there was evidence his trophies were buried under his shed. I think they didn't recover those until like last year sometime, mid last year. Just buried. An actual ligature Relating to an unsolved murder. Yeah, I don't know how the appeals process works. I know it could take up to a few years, though. So I think, there's a process to it. You have the sentencing, and then maybe they can get the ball rolling after that. What's up, Silverleaf? He only confessed so he could clear his conscience, not to give justice to Libby and Abby. These are two different things that show depravity, in my opinion. I'm right there with you, Silver. It gave him a boost of energy, right? The burden was becoming too much to handle, and if he could relieve a little bit of that pressure, he can continue on with his fight of denial. So by him confessing here and there, he's it's almost like he's relieving some pressure. He's getting a little bit off his chest. Nothing to do with the victims, Abby and Libby, because remember, he wouldn't have killed Abby and Libby if he cared about them or cared about people in general. We've heard him say, well, he wanted to take his own life, but he's too much of a coward. That's why they died, because he just doesn't give a shit. And if he has this personality disorder where he's dependent on his wife, Kathy, where he has to be under her wing, 24/7, it's my understanding from the sources that I've developed that their relationship was kind of going through the rocks at that time, and that they weren't spending a whole lot of time together, not because they were at odds, but because of all of these fucked up things that were happening. Life was kind of turmoil for Richard Allen at that time. So if he has a personality disorder and he's dependent on a daily basis on his wife, to kind of hold his hand, that's what the experts are telling us. Doesn't that fit into the profile of somebody that might snap if they're not getting those things? Wouldn't that feed into the recipe of what created a killer? So shortly before the crime, he's not with this person that he's attached to. Couldn't that fuel the motive? Yep, he could have been confronted. Confronted by who, Lulu? Who's doing the confronter? Abby and Libby. We know that they did that with Keegan Klein. They sent him fake photos and took his money. Maybe they thought they were talking to Keegan Klein, and it was this psycho. Well, Keegan Klein's a psycho too, but this murderous psycho, Richard Allen. Yep. Now you're thinking. Mother leaves to go get some groceries. He goes back, digs up the little box, relives the crimes, puts the box back into a bag, seals it, buries it back in the ground. It's definitely in a place that he frequents. The photo department, it's my opinion, that's where he came up with the Odin idea. He saw the pictures in the film drawer. Well, blind, Richard Allen, he didn't need any photographs. If he's responsible for creating that crime scene, he's the expert. He is the Delphi expert. He knows why it happened. He was there when it happened. Nobody knows more about this case than Richard Allen. He wouldn't need photographs. He just needs to know what the social media and the public narrative is. Okay, here's the narrative. There's a lot of talk about ritualistic. I was on that kick. I could have swore that this was a ritualistic killing. only because I didn't know half of what was going on out there and any of those factual pieces of information. But as time went by, people were pointing fingers at Brad Holder. Okay. And everybody knew Brad Holder was into this Odinism stuff. So if Richard Allen is keeping a close eye on all of this, him knowing what was at the crime scene and him knowing where social media is trying to take the narrative, or just the public where they're trying to take the narrative, it would be easy for him getting caught and putting it all together. Here, let me just go ahead and connect these dots for you, Mr. Defense lawyer. So he's using all of the factual information that nobody knows to create that narrative about the Odinism stuff. He doesn't need photos. He doesn't need any of that. He has it all up in his head. He is the Delphi expert. Above the investigation, above the family members, above all the online sleuths, Richard Allen is the number one expert about what happened in Delphi that day, down to the minute detail. He disposed of items in a CVS dumpster. He seems comfortable with the area. Yeah, might have been more close. That's what I think. The photograph that I found of Richard Allen was at a CVS online, and he was walking. He was just walking away from the building. So I'm assuming he was going on a walk, maybe to lunch. Maybe he's going to Dairy Queen. Maybe he's going to go smoke a cigarette. But there is a trail system out there right around that area. So maybe he would just go for a walk, eat his sandwich, have his coffee, smoke a cigarette. I don't know. Maybe those items could be out there somewhere. A place that is, special to him. Welcome in, Moonshadow. They brought in his daughter, which I thought was huge. She was just there to kill any thoughts that he was molesting his daughter. But the truth is, she's not going to be honest either way. So to put her on the stand like that must have been difficult for her. No safer hiding spot than your mother's house. Yeah, you might be right, Lulu. You might be right. I know he talked about getting rid of the box cutter there, GP. I just can't see him parting ways with those trophies. I think he tried. He may have even placed them in a fire pit, ready to light them on fire, and just could not do it. I don't think he could. The same thing that caused him to kill those girls is the same thing that won't allow him to get rid of those trophies. I think he has the phone too. Thanks, Sparky. Yeah, if you guys want to support this channel, it is 100% crowd-funded. You can always support me through Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle. You can become a member, or you can even go to the sleuthintuition.com merch shop and get a hoodie. We just stocked up a bunch of hoodies, just like this one here. It says Sleuth Crew, we're everywhere. But the easiest way is just to like and share the video. CJK, he admitted it with his box cutter that day, placing himself on the bridge and more. This wasn't a meth ring or anyone from the Kokomo crew. Yeah, there's just no evidence to support that. Not that I've seen. Good to see you, Mustang. TJ, is there a chance the state is working with the defense right now to make some sort of deal? If he comes clean, they can maybe do something for him, keep him in a close by prison or something. That I don't know. That I do not know. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. Let's go to Outside of the Grid here. Great podcast. Why brutality on Libby? She got in the way of Richard Allen getting to Abby, in my opinion. She was a defender. Everything we've learned about Libby was that she was very protective. She didn't like bullies. They also were taking classes, I think criminology classes, preparing for college. So we know that she was getting harassed by Anthony Schatz. She even went to her aunt for help to reset her phone 10 days prior to the crime. The girls were up late. That's why I'm so curious as to what Richard Allen was doing. What was he doing all day on the 12th and the morning of the 13th? And the fact that we don't know that, I mean, that makes him look more guilty than anything. What were you doing, man? Was he angry? Was he pissed off that day about something? Whatever was happening, he doesn't want the public to know. Hey, what's going on, Susan? If he is an alcoholic and hasn't drank in a while and consumes a lot, he can have all kinds of side effects. The way he made it sound in his confession was that he was falling off the wagon. So why did he fall off the wagon? What was he stressed out about? Did it have something to do with his wife? Did it have something to do with Valentine's Day? The next day? I mean, what was the rage about? How did Abby and Libby become the focus of his rage? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Oh, I'm not going to lunch with you, mom, sister. I think I'm just going to go for a walk and go spend some time alone on the bridge, on the Monon High Bridge Trail. I mean, it doesn't make sense. What was he really doing in Peru? Why was he so motivated to get to those trails right around the time that the girls were heading there? And then to beeline it directly to them, kill them, leave, and then cover it up like it never happened. Patty says, I think Richard Allen's intention was essay to someone that day. He knew that area very well. Things got out of hand. Those two sweet girls gave him a hard time verbally, and he had to kill them. He lost control. Well, thing is in that narrative, you're throwing in a lot of stuff, right? That they gave him a hard time verbally. That we don't know of. And the fact that he was targeting anyone, I don't know, that just seems strange to me. I'm pissed off. I'm going to put on a bunch of layers of clothes and then I'm going to go sexually assault, the first person that's alone that I find. We've gone down that rabbit hole or we've discussed that theory, but it just doesn't fit for me. Thanks, Sparky. He's well down off the drink now. It's about 2 to 3 weeks for full detox physically. CJK Allen is a cold-blooded monster who viciously murdered 2 kids and, per his own words to Walla, wanted to essay but couldn't perform or something like this. Knew the girls would report it, so he killed them. See, to me, this is a half-truth. Did he want to essay them? Yes. Is he leaving out the fact that he knew that they were there? Did he know the girls prior? Did Richard Allen have access to the Anthony Schatz account? Did he have access to anything as far as social media connecting him and the girls? I just don't understand why he would just leave Peru, drive all the way back to Delphi, layer up on a hot day, go to the trails, kill 2 girls, and then leave. It seems like he's pissed off about something. Big Country 48. I've always thought he was angry from another strained relationship that set him off, possibly. I mean, Valentine's Day was the following day, guys. Following day. Richard Allen and his wife weren't doing too good, from what I hear, around this time. And all the experts in the trial come out and told us that Richard Allen is suffering from a personality disorder where he's extremely dependent on his wife. So if she's pushing him away, trying to deal with the loss of her brother, what's that doing to him? Who is he reaching out to? If he's not spending time over here, who is he spending his time with? I think that could be where the whole Richard Allen, or excuse me, Anthony Schatz stuff fits in. Him filling a void. He has spare time. What's he doing during that spare time? He's in Peru, right? The guy we've been focused on before Richard Allen was Keegan Kline. Keegan Kline admitted to being there, even said his father had something to do with it. Come to find out, Richard Allen all along was in Peru that morning. I mean, does that not throw up a red flag for anybody? Is it just me? I don't know, Patty. I just don't know. I don't think he has a conscience. We would have seen it, I think, by now. Shane, we talked about himself and Kathy not taking the stand. On Friday, if neither speak, it will say a million things. I mean, it would be nice to know what he was doing. And the fact that we don't know what he was doing makes him appear to be that much more guilty. Why doesn't he want us to know? Why were investigators not able to sit down with everybody that came in contact with Richard Allen on the 12th in the morning of the 13th and get a clear understanding of what was going on with that man? Like it's like nobody even knows. The only time we've ever had a peek at that information was from Richard Allen himself. And come to find out, it was verified. When we sat down and talked with Mata, he said, yeah, I verified that with Kathy and all of Richard Allen's family that he was in Peru that day. So if Richard Allen is telling Walla that he was in Peru that day, then went to Delphi, then to the trails, that fits in with his confession. You know, we didn't learn about him being in Peru. Well, I knew about it. You guys can go watch my Catalyst video. I knew for a long time that Richard Allen was in Peru through my own investigation. But now that it's been verified to the public, it's like it doesn't matter. It's like it means nothing. Blind Squirrel answering the question. DSLR is a term that became synonymous with digital cameras, but a digital single lens reflex camera notable for allowing interchangeable lenses on the same camera. Oh, thanks. Anna, we don't know if Richard Allen was with his family overnight or if he drove to Peru that morning and back again around noon. The big family issues were with Kathy Allen's family. What was happening in his family. And we don't know which mother is he referring to. Is he talking about his mother? Because doesn't his mother live in Mexico, not Peru? Now, his mother-in-law lived in Peru. So when he says he was in Peru with his mother and his sister, who is he referring to specifically? Why is he in Peru? Did he wake up in Peru? I mean, we have no clue. This man is going to prison for murder, and we don't even know what he was doing the day before and the morning of the crime. What's up, Copper Horse? Right back at you, GP. What's up, Delulu? Mark Collins, good to see you. Chopper, what up? Jojo. I think he burned them in the burn pit because he started to feel the heat and got scared. Something spooked him, in my opinion. I don't know. I just don't agree with that. I feel like he would have gotten rid of the gun. And I just don't. I mean, there's something wrong with this guy. He's not a normal person. Therefore, I just don't think he can. I think anybody with a normal with normal human behavior, they do something like that. They're gonna. First of all, they wouldn't do anything like that. That's the first sign somebody's fucking nuts. Number two, if they did do something horrible like this, they're going to be overwhelmed with guilt. They're going to come forward, and they're going to be happy to serve their time or to accept the consequences, whatever that may be. They feel horrible. They can't go on living knowing what they've done. The guilt is too much. Not with Richard Allen. He doesn't care about anybody other than maybe just Kathy. Remember, the experts swore up and down under oath that he's suffering from a personality disorder that makes him very attached to one person. That one person was his wife. Okay, so what happens when he can't have his wife? When she's suffering, self-medicating, busy at work, he's in Peru doing God knows what. Like, what the fuck are you doing in Peru to begin with? What are you there for? How long were you with your parents? Were you there the day before? Were you there on the 11th? Who were you with? How do we know he wasn't with the Kleins or Keegan? Like, how do we know that? V says he only cared about what his wife and mom would think. Now that he knows that he has their support, he won't say a word. I agree. The second he admits to it to the public, there's no more plausible deniability. There's no more, oh, my husband's being framed, or this was just a bad trial. We'll fix it during the appeal. That all goes away. I agree with you. Mark says the sad thing is he can come out and say he did it and people won't believe him. Yeah, that's true. Elizabeth's asking, will he have to speak at the sentencing to confirm his name and date of birth? I don't know. I'll be shocked if he speaks, though. What I think is missing is the tip to Kathy Shank to the Wabash search. Yeah, and if anything's missing about that tip, it's because somebody that's involved is not telling the whole truth. So maybe the person saying, "Oh, I just found it in a drawer here." Are they lying? Maybe it was handed to them. Maybe they were hiding it themselves. They're motivated by, they have their own motivation. And who wrote cleared on it? And what was cleared? Did they, at any point, did they even consider Richard Allen as a suspect, or was it right from the get go? They were just like, nope, it's just assumed he had nothing to do with this. I spoke with these three girls. They're cleared. It's not that Richard Allen was cleared, it's that the information within that tip has been cleared. So is it possible Richard Allen was just overlooked from the very beginning? Like at no point did anybody even suspect him. Sensei, I don't think he destroyed things. He knew he was in the clear for half a decade, and by the time the cops were on to him, he wouldn't be able to risk doing anything that would draw attention. Yeah, they're still there. If he hid them, which I think he did, because I don't think he could bring himself to destroy these items. He went through all of this. He risked his own life, his marriage. He risked everything that day. If he gets rid of those trophies, there's a chance that he's going to have to go do it again. Remember, in 2016, Richard Allen was a mess. 2018, he's taking vacations. His health has improved. Apparently, he kicked drinking beer, and he's climbing mountains with his wife. He's going, he's in Tennessee doing horseback riding. He did a lot in 2018. So I think he's going to attribute that to the murders. He did get his power back. If he gets rid of those trophies, in order to get back to that point, he may have to do it again. But with those trophies, he can go dig up the box, pull out the items, and relive it over and over and over as many times as he wants. And I think that there were photographs on that phone. I think it's possible that Richard Allen even uploaded some of these photos to the dark web early on in the case. And I think people had their hands on these photos that came directly from the killer. And they weren't part of any law enforcement or defense team leak. I think it's very possible that Richard Allen uploaded these photographs directly himself. Or shared them on some Dropbox or something where they share CSAM. But I think the early photos that were of the crime scene that were leaked, that looked different than the ones that came from the defense team leak, I think those came directly from the killer. And most likely that cell phone that was in his hand while he was on those trails. Question is, where is it? Lynn says, Richard Allen said he wanted his way with the girls. That's why he took them down the hill. Is that why he went to the trails, though, I think is also the question. Did he see them and say, oh, well, I'm going to essay those girls that are over there? Or did he say, I'm going to the trails and I'm going to essay these girls that I know are going to be at the trails today? That's the question. Anna says, I think Brad Weber lied in his testimony. That may not mean a lot because a van could have been from a delivery company, almost Valentine's Day, could have been a florist delivering a bouquet on the private drive. Sensei says if the phone still exists and wasn't traded in, if it was powered up now, would it alert the phone company or the police? Do you know? I don't know. Yeah, I think if it was powered up and connected to anything, I think it would be visible somehow, but I'm not sure. I agree with this, TJ. He says, I still feel like he's trying a little too hard in his confessions to say it was only me, no one helped me. Yeah, I always found that very curious. Like, why did he say that? What is it like? Nobody's saying anybody helped you. It's almost like he was hinting, like, I did this alone. Nobody helped me. Like, if I'm going down for this, somebody else needs to go down as well because I didn't do this alone. That's what I'm thinking, Patty. He has it buried somewhere. And every once in a while, when he's feeling a little strange and he's feeling like he was at the end of 2016, early 2017, all he had to do was go dig it up, relive the crime, and that would buy him some time. That's what we've learned from these killers. That's the type of shit that they do. It doesn't make any sense to us because it's not normal. You have to try to put yourself inside the mind of somebody that would kill two girls. And that's what the jury got a good look at. They got a good look at this crazy son of a bitch. We didn't get to see all of that. Everybody's like, well, they didn't provide any evidence. The jury got front row seats to crazy. They were front row at the crazy show. They got to see it. Girls, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys while this dude's playing with himself. Come on, guys. They're looking at the killer. They got front row seats at it. We didn't. Oh, the jury doesn't know as much as I do. They don't know all this stuff about all these conspiracies and all the Facebook stalking that I've done. They didn't have time to do all that. They don't even know about the Kokomo crew. Guys, they had front row seats at the crazy show. They were looking right at this motherfucker, this crazy son of a bitch, and they knew he was guilty. Anna says, apparently they didn't find anything suspicious in online searches and activity. Yeah, after you commit a murder, I think you're going to hold off from doing any of the crazy shit that you were doing before, especially if the phone that you were doing it on is now hidden and away. I have a feeling that Richard Allen was smart enough to keep that separate. Remember I told you guys that story about a coworker I had a long time ago who had a beautiful family, two small children. I think she had like a 3-year-old and an infant. Hardworking husband, good-looking dude. She was very pretty herself, but she was leading a separate life. She had two separate phones, and her husband would come take her to lunch, and when he would leave, she would get back on her phone and make plans with her boyfriend or her side dude or whatever you want to call it. And I was just like, I've never seen anything like it. But it always when I think about Richard Allen, it reminds me of that. I feel like if he was involved in any of this, and I'm not saying there's evidence for that, I'm just saying he had plenty of time to get rid of any of that evidence, to say, oh, Richard Allen's not tied to this or tied to that. He had 6 years to get rid of all that. Who knows what this dude was involved in? He's using a phone, a burner phone. He had a burner phone. Where is it? Nobody knows where this phone is. Welcome in the unsolved. It still haunts me that Nick went in front of a judge and said, we believe there are other actors involved. Even more stunned that alleged smart defense lawyers didn't take that or the KK defense. Yeah, but why? Why didn't they take the KK defense? I know they need a nexus, but there was a nexus. Keegan Kline confessed. So why didn't they? I think that goes hand in hand in why we don't know what Richard Allen was doing in Peru. What the fuck was Richard Allen doing in Peru? One moment, and then the next he's in Delphi, layering up his clothes, backing into the CPS building, covering his face, bringing his gun, and bringing a blade. What is he doing? It's hard for me to just accept that, oh, he was going to look for some random victim. He was pissed off at the world and he didn't care. Somebody was going to pay. It would be a lot easier to accept that story if he wasn't in Peru that morning. Right? We've been chasing this fucking fat piece of shit Keegan Kline for how long? This guy who's been sextorting women or young girls, terrorizing them, sharing the images with other chomos. So it's not just some creep hiding in a basement, getting better at his perversion. No, we're talking about a very sophisticated criminal creating drop boxes. He was on dozens of different apps. Some people were even referring to Keegan Kline by his first name. They knew him as Kagan, not as this Anthony Schatz or, some random online name. They knew who he was. So the fact that we don't know what Richard Allen was doing in Peru that day might be the same answer to why nobody tied in the Keegan Kline part during the trial. A lot of people forget that Keegan Kline admitted that he was with his father. They went to the cemetery. He waited in the car. His father met another friend out there. And then when his father came out from the trees near the cemetery, he was covered in mud and blood and told Keegan, and I quote, "We just had fun." Is that not a nexus? Maybe not, considering the source, right? Keegan Kline, lying piece of shit. He has his own motivating factors. Maybe he wanted to get out and have his milkshake and his 6-piece nugget meal. GP, here's a thought. Maybe he dropped the phone off at one of those cash for phone booths at Walmart. Do they do that? Yeah, they do. And I'm not saying go around trusting police or to say that there's no corruption amongst law enforcement. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying do yourself a favor and follow the evidence or the lack thereof, right? Yep, they never recovered the phone. So here are the items they didn't recover. They're missing a pair of underwear. They're missing a sock. They're missing a phone. I would have thrown the blade in the box, but according to Richard Allen, he tossed it. He has no attachment to the blade. Just a means to an end. Yeah, I don't pay too much into those Google searches. Bottom line was, they didn't have anything connecting Richard Allen to CSAM or anything like that. Does that mean that just because they didn't find it, it doesn't exist or never existed? No. But if they find that phone, which I believe he did not get rid of, they might have their answers. So I hope they're still looking for that phone and for these trophies because I believe they're still out there. I truly do. Anyone hoping for a successful appeal is going to be very disappointed. I don't know. I don't know. I'm still waiting for the sentencing hearing this Friday. Remember, guys, Richard Allen is being sentenced this Friday. We will be live streaming the entire event. It's scheduled between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that day. And the question that I presented to the chat today was, do you believe Richard Allen will apologize? Do you think he'll even speak during the sentencing hearing? Or do you believe it's appeal full speed ahead and he wouldn't do anything to ruin those chances? Lisa says this is to the unsolved. Defense couldn't bring up the KK because none of KK charges were even Abby or Libby related or within that time frame. Yeah, but he was a witness and did confess to being involved in the crime. The only thing is, the defense can only bring him up as if the prosecution plans to rebuttal. Like, why bring up Keegan Klein when the jury could just assume that there is a connection, right? That's the reason that they brought up Richard Allen's daughter, was to get rid of that assumption, right? Part of Richard Allen's confession was that he had molested some Kevin and a few other people, Don and whatever, James, I think it was. So the fact that they brought the daughter up was to say, hey, let's go ahead and let's squash any assumption that he was molesting his daughter. We'll bring her on the stand and she'll say, no, he never touched me. So the same thing goes for KK. If they mention that and the prosecution has no intention of even talking, like, hey, we didn't bring up Keegan Klein, you guys did. You know, we don't have any questions on this part. Anything they say is just going to go back to lead the jury to assume that maybe it is possible. You know, Richard Allen is in Peru that morning. So maybe he is connected to Keegan Klein. So you can't really bring up anything if it's not being brought up by the prosecution. So really, you just need to have an answer for everything that the prosecution is saying. Or third party suspects with an actual nexus. TJ says, well, he already tried confessing once and no one in his circle would believe him. Why would he try that again? Chopper says, Kathy destroyed all the evidence. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Kathy. I don't know if she knew anything. I don't even know if she knew where to find the evidence. I feel like she wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention to Richard Allen. So she might just be feeling guilty about that. For all we know, she was mistreating him at the time. You know, she was dealing with her own stressors, which ultimately became Richard Allen's number one stressor, was that this woman that he was so attached to, and this is coming from the experts, right? That he had a personality disorder and this unusual attachment to his wife. Well, if she's pushing him away, maybe that was the trigger. You know, we have Valentine's Day the next day, have Richard Allen falling off the wagon. I feel like it all ties in. It's like a recipe for disaster. Yeah, maybe she did, Lisa. Maybe she did find something in the move. Or maybe the new homeowners, maybe they should be checking the floorboards or bringing the metal detector all through the backyard, checking under the shed. Because if anything's out there, I think it's buried. You know, he would know that it's a risk keeping these items. But in his head, he's smart enough. He's gotten away with it. So if I bury it, they'll never find it. Yeah, Shane, I agree with that. I agree. But I also believe that Richard Allen could have done this by himself, right? I think if anybody else is involved, it has to do with the motive and how the girls were targeted. But as far as the action and the murder itself, could have easily have been Richard Allen. He could have went down there, parked at the CPS building, went and waited for the girls um, at the bridge. The girls were apparently were sending Snapchats while they were on their way to the trail. So if he sees a Snapchat saying that, hey, they're about to get dropped off, who's to say he didn't just go hide in the trees? He can hide in the trees and he can just watch them. Those are my targets right there. Those are the girls who were fucking with me last night. Um, maybe he was communicating with them online, and they were hoping to meet a young, handsome guy, and that could be frustrating for Richard Allen. They're the only reason they're here is because they're hoping to see some young, good-looking guy. They don't want anything to do with me. I'm this old, married, ugly, um, washed up piece of shit. With nothing to live for. But they want the young, handsome model. They don't want me. In his head, maybe he was really searching for a connection there, especially if he's suffering from a personality disorder. His wife is creating distance between them because of the loss of her brother. Maybe he's out there searching. Now he's drunk as a skunk and he's all turned around. Yep, underwear, sock, and a phone and a blade. Yeah, that's the problem. Nick could have asked the daughter many questions but chose not to. I don't know. I don't think it would have been a good look for Nick to berate Richard Allen's daughter. I don't think it was a good look for the defense to even call her. For her to sit on that stand and to say Richard Allen never molested me. To me it's meaningless because you don't know if she's telling the truth or she's lying. You're telling me that the first time a young woman is going to tell the world that she's being touched by her father is going to be in front of the entire world at a trial? She's not going to do that. Just something else you'd have to hate her father for. Look what you made me do. Now my secret's out and I wasn't ready. So even if she says my father didn't touch me, I don't believe it. I'm not saying that she's lying, but there's just no way for me to believe that. There's just too much pressure on that young woman to tell the truth. If she says, yeah, that motherfucker did molest me when I was a little kid. All right. If he gets convicted, it's her fault. If it wasn't for that testimony, your father would be free. You put your father in prison, right? She can't, there's no way that she could be honest. Because even if she was honest, she doesn't deserve that. Patty says you're correct. He has that phone too. Yeah, he has it. He has these trophies and he has this phone. I believe they are somewhere. Question is where? I just don't believe that Richard Allen could part with them. I think the fact that he knows that they're still there is giving him some strength. You know, gives him something to play cat and mouse with. Shane says, but I really believe the tentacles are from the Anthony Shots account. Remember, to this day, it's the same top. Yeah, what happened to the Dropbox? What happened to the tentacles? What happened to the dozens of investigations that came from the Anthony Shots discovery? What happened to the answers from Doug Carter? It's my, from what I see, he's retiring. He's not pushing anything for the floor fire case. You know, thanks, Copper. If you guys are looking for a hoodie, there you go. It's one of the major ways you can support my channel and get yourself a nice hoodie. They're nice. They're Hanes, made in America, and you'll be supporting my channel. Yeah, that's true, Anna. And honestly, I think the defense team, I think they wanted to bring up Keegan Klein, but if the prosecution isn't going to touch it, like, hey, we ain't going to touch it, it's just going to leave the jury there to speculate. Okay, so they were looking for a guy who was using the Anthony Shots account. They believe this person had something to do with the murders because he was trying to meet Libby there that day. Even said, hey, I was supposed to meet her there that day and they didn't show up. OMG. Remember all that? So if the defense was to bring this up and say, hey, Keegan Klein admitted to the crime that he did it with his father, and this has nothing to do with our client, Richard Allen. They're going to say, okay, well, who is Keegan Klein? Well, he's from Peru. He created the Anthony Shots account that was communicating with Abby and Libby the day of the murder. Okay, well, where was Richard Allen the morning of the crime? Well, he was in Peru. Well, the jury's going to go, well, oh shit. They're just going to start speculating and assuming, well, yeah, there might be a connection here. So it didn't make sense for anybody to bring it up. Prosecution, they don't have enough. And Keegan Klein isn't a dependable witness. He's not credible. And if the prosecution brings it up, that's going to lead to speculation on the part of the jury saying, hey, well, maybe Richard Allen is tied in. Kind of like what's happening to me right now. The moment that I found out Richard Allen was in Peru that day was the day I created the Catalyst video, because that was that to me was a nexus for me to him and Richard Allen, possibly, right? It wasn't a nexus, but it told me that I'm barking up the right tree. And I don't think that this investigation is over. Chopper says, I don't think he had the balls to keep any trophies. He got rid of everything except he didn't know he dropped around on the floor and kept the gun. Yeah, why would he keep the gun? If he had the gun on him, why would he keep it? With or without knowledge of the cartridge. In most cases, at the beginning of an arrest, they always say that unsolved. Until they have all the answers, they're not going to say other people aren't involved. But I do agree this was different. And I still believe that they think others were involved. I think that they believe that Keegan Klein was involved. But it all comes down to what you can prove. And listening to Keegan Klein, confess in a trial, it's just not believable. I mean, the guy is just a pile of shit. He's not credible whatsoever. He needs some type of proof, something that he can hold in the air, something that law enforcement can hold, that they can share with the public and say, look, here's your connection. Thank you, Copper. And if you guys are looking to support my channel, remember, anything helps. We're trying to do this on a full-time basis, but we can't make that happen without you guys supporting. And if we don't have the support, this will just be something fun that we do every once in a while. But if you guys enjoy seeing me on a daily basis and providing me with the time to investigate these crimes, I do need your support. Lisa says, what happened to the contents of his CVS locker? It's a good question. I would ask, if I had my way, I would interview his coworkers and ask, where did he go? Where did Richard Allen go when he would take a break? When it was his lunchtime, where did he go? Did he take a walk? And if he did take a walk, like where did he go? Yeah, that's true. God forbid the investigation evolves into something else. Yeah, only one way to find out, Patty. Richard Allen needs to go ahead and explain what happened. Yeah, Shane, I still believe they think there's others involved. And I have a feeling, well, in most cases, once you get your suspect in custody, the case starts to kind of explode, really. Now you got more information, the suspect's talking. You're expecting a lot of answers. You're expecting a lot of new evidence. Sorry, Sensei, I think I missed your super chats here. Would be quite easy to bury them in his mother-in-law's garden and then be helpful by tidying the yard and then go have a fix from the trophies, in my opinion. Yep, and I think he did that often. Sparky with the big flex. Proud member of the Sleuth crew. It's been amazing watching this channel grow and thrive. Great job, Sleuth. Thank you, Sparky. And with the super sticker. Today's sponsors, Sensei and Sparky. Shout out to you guys. Thank you. The best information provided, actually the only information provided about Richard Allen's activities that day come from Richard Allen. He said he was with his mother and his sister. They went to lunch. He opted out. Okay, and if he opted out, why is he leaving Peru? Okay, I understand you're not going to lunch. That's good. Why aren't you just going home? Why are you layering up and going directly to the trails? No, first you're getting alcohol, which I don't believe for a minute was a six-pack. If there's anything I've learned about these criminals, they tell half-truths. And usually it's not half-truths to start with. It's 20%, 30%, 40%, and then it's 50%. And at the end of the day, you're lucky to end up with 80% of what actually really happened. Because psychopaths are going to continue to leave out anything that makes them look like shit. It's just what they do. They don't want you to know what they were really out there doing, how sick and perverse they really are. That's the part that they're going to leave out. Welcome in Shrooms, Gumby, and Adderall. Did the grossly negligent Baldwin and Rosie hurt their reputation any between their peers and future clients? I don't think so. I think this was a huge PR campaign, and everybody knows their names, especially there in Indiana. And I think they did a good job with what they had. I mean, look what they did to a lot of people on social media. They mind fucked them. They are literally mind effed to the core. They don't know up from down, left from right. Got them praising a child killer, because they really believe that he's being framed. You can give that credit to Richard Allen's attorneys. So if you're looking to hire somebody to put the old Jedi mind trick out there, that's your group. That's your tag team. And who knows what else triggered him after that. Anna says, by ending up at the south end of the bridge, the girls were more or less trapped. Did the offender stalk the trails, planning for just such an opportunity? I don't know, Anna. I feel like the pieces that are missing have everything to do with the targeting, specifically of Abby and Libby, and the motivating factor. I feel like Richard Allen was there specifically for Abby and Libby. They weren't going to talk to him the way that they talked to him. They weren't going to get over the way that they got over on him, and they weren't going to mislead him in his vulnerable state. Especially with Valentine's Day, he's going to get what was promised to him. That's the vibe that I'm getting. By any means necessary. Anna said, I've said from the beginning, I thought the motive was to demand an obscene act down the hill under the bridge, but the girls resisted at some point. I don't know. Maybe they didn't resist. Maybe they didn't resist. Maybe they did everything that he told them to do. And that he was just so fucked up in the head that day. He panicked, and there was no undoing it. The violent nature of the crime tells a story. Hands-on crime, that violent, almost always have triggers. Yeah, especially crimes of passion. One thing that I've learned with knife attacks, it's definitely more personal. But also the killer that day had a gun and a blade. So I'm wondering if there was an issue with the gun or if Richard Allen just knew that it would make too much noise. I can't use this gun. If I do, I'm caught. What are my other options? Oh, I have my blade that I keep here, right? My CVS blade. I keep it in my jacket. This is my jacket that I wear, when I'm cutting boxes. H, what's up? I think he got info from KK or maybe TK that morning. The trip to his mom may have been a strategic cover. I have a feeling that he was already in Peru. So he may not have even been communicating with the girls except for the night before. And in his twisted mind, maybe he really thought that he had a connection or something. GP, I believe he knew the girls, had seen them several times before. Also, let's not forget the freak. He did frequent the bar. B I know that Avatar. Is that from WrestleMania from Nintendo Entertainment? From NES? That's awesome. Says Rick Allen had nothing to do with those killings. I disagree. I believe that he did it. That's why he was convicted of it. The only question is why? Why did he do it? What was motivating him, and why did he target Abby and Libby? There's no doubt about that he did it. Question is, it was anybody else involved with those two factors? I'm sorry, but the mental health issues are excuses. Yeah, maybe. BM, these disinformation agents are working overtime. Is that what I am, a disinformation agent? So if I have a YouTube channel and my opinion differs from you, I'm part of some conspiracy. Okay. Salty Sleuth, I believe he had to know the girls were at the bridge. The only way to know had to be through the shots account. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just can't. It just doesn't make any sense to me. He's in Peru in the morning, hanging out with his family, and then on a drop of a dime, he's changing at his Delphi home and going to the trails with a face covering. Come on, guys, missing pieces. This investigation is not over. It's not over by far. Check the sales records. Hey, Julia, what's up? I'd be interested to know exactly how and if Anthony Shots fits into the murders. I can't shake it personally. There's got to be something there. Yeah, and I think the information with Richard Allen being in Peru that day, I mean, it solidifies all that for me. I mean, what are the odds, guys? What are the odds that the creator of the Anthony Shots account lives in Peru, was logging in and logging out to two separate phones, logging them into the Anthony Shots account at 8 a.m. that morning? And then you have Richard Allen just leaving Peru and going directly home and then to the trails at 1:30. 1:30 was the very moment that the girls knew that they had a ride, right? They were searching for a ride. There's a lot more to this story. And it says wildlife predators attack because of a sight pattern. I think she's referring to like an injured gazelle. You know, you see an animal limping, it's going to draw attention. Human predators are said to operate the same way. A girl or two at the south end of the bridge was a sight pattern. Yeah, but typically when we're dealing with human predators, Anna, we're dealing with like kidnappers, somebody that gets out of their car, convinces the person to get in the car, and then they leave, and it's an abduction and a murder. Here, there's something different about it. It's like, this is my only opportunity to kill these girls. I'm going to get what I want from them, and I'm going to kill them. This may be my only opportunity. It's like the killer was taking advantage of this opportunity. Now, it's different if Richard Allen was driving around Delphi and there was some let's say some young girl that just happens to be walking alone down some old farm road. That's different, right? That's what you're referring to. The predator sees this young girl, looks around, she's all alone. I can get out of my car and I can abduct this person. Richard Allen, he didn't do that. He went home, he geared up, middle of the daytime, on foot, and attacked these two girls. To me that spells out rage. Now, was the rage directed at them? Were they targeted? That I don't know. But I don't see Richard Allen seeing, oh my God, these girls went to a high risk location. And that's what John Douglas says. He says the moment those girls crossed the bridge and went to that south side, they put themselves into a high risk situation. So you could be right. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong, but everything else doesn't lead me down that path. Welcome in, Aunt Cool. I wouldn't doubt it, Glam Van. What's up? Nicely done. I mean, that is possible, Anna. He was casting out a large net, but I mean, it's just too specific. That day, um, the morning, the logging in, the logging out, the fact that Anthony Schatz was supposed to meet them there. Not that I was supposed to hang out with them today and they never got a hold of me. It was I was supposed to meet that girl there that day and she never showed up. There's just too much there. And whoever did this, they didn't think that they could be traced. I don't know either, Trey. I also think all the shit eating and other BS was on purpose because he thought he would go to the hospital instead of prison. I don't think it had anything to do with the crimes. That's basic behavior of people who are in solitary confinement. This is nothing new. It just has to do with getting through that day. Him eating shit, him bumping his head, him destroying um, his iPad or whatever. That has nothing to do with the crime. That has nothing to do with anything. It just happens to do with him being in solitary confinement and him going stir crazy. It happens to most people in solitary confinement. First, it starts with playing with shit, stuff like that. But once they learn the rules, right? Playing with the shit and doing all that stuff will get you the attention. Okay, now they have eyes on you. Okay, we need to observe this guy. He's acting crazy. But it's not enough to get you pulled out of your cell, and taken out of that situation. So what do you have to do now? You have to begin hurting yourself because that's what by law or by their policy will get you taken out of solitary confinement. It'll get you a shower and it'll get you a doctor visit, right? So not just playing with your shit is enough. You have to begin to start banging your head or somehow hurting yourself. So this is what people in solitary confinement do. It had nothing to do with his charges. It had nothing to do with anything else other than him getting through the next 10 minutes. And that's how they do it. They play with their shit, they eat their shit, gets them the attention, and then they start banging their heads. That gets them out of the cell. So it's successful. What's up, Sleuthin' Mama? I think law enforcement didn't want to tie Keegan to the crime because it could cause reasonable doubt. Richard Allen and KK would point fingers at each other, and I don't think they had enough on KK at the crime scene. I don't know if it creates reasonable doubt. I just think that the defense, the defense can't bring it up because it's going to cause the jury to speculate, and the prosecution can't bring it up because that's not what led them to Richard Allen. Even though I think they're still working that case in that angle, until they have something solid, there's really nothing to bring forward. All they're going to say is, well, we have the Anthony Shot stuff, no connection to Richard Allen. Tell that to a jury, they're going to say, okay. And then we have Keegan Kline confessing that he was there that day and that his father might have had something to do with it. Okay, well, who is this Keegan Kline person? Well, he's a known liar, and he's a CSAMmer. You know, he abuses children. The jury's going to be like, well, we can't really believe this piece of shit. There's really nothing there yet. I don't think they're done with that angle by far, but they need more. Lulu, he's in Florida. I think retired. I think he had his foot amputated, I think due to disease, and then he retired, I think living off pension and disability in Florida. I think you might be right, Sleuthin' Mama. I think you might be right. I don't think we have further information about KK saying the ski mask incident caused the trouble last time. What last time? Where's the record? Yeah, and he doesn't know anything about the ski mask incident. So for all we know, that could have been Richard Allen. We don't know where it happened. We don't know which county. All we know is that the person that it happened to mentioned Anthony Shots. So if there is a record, we would need to know who filed the report, right? And where the report came out of. So there's no way to disprove or prove it until we have that information. I know a lot of people are out there saying, oh, well, we disproved it or we proved it. Well, you got to know who wrote the report and who it happened to in order to do that. Or it never happened. That could also be possible. Lulu, I feel like he has daddy issues for sure. His father was a musician, never in his life. He was adopted by his mother's second husband. I think she has a different one now. And according to the sources that I developed, the person who adopted him, his first stepfather, was a very powerful man in Mexico, Indiana. I believe he was a principal of a school there. Yeah, and I don't know if a direct confession, Anna. See, I don't know. I think that's definitely a bigger nexus than anything that they had with the Odinism stuff. Was Keegan Kline saying, "Hey, you remember they took him out of prison." The investigators took Keegan Kline out of prison. They took him to Delphi. They took him into the cemetery, and Keegan Kline told them the story. Like, this is where I sat. I waited for my father. He met a friend here in Delphi. Who was that friend? Was it Richard Allen? Who knows? But when he came out of the woods, he was muddy and bloody and said, "We had a good time." To me, that's a nexus. But at the same time, you have to consider the source. Who's the source? Keegan Klein. That's not going to go a whole. That's not going to go very far in court. Yep, there you go, Lulu. So that's why I think it's important to find out what Richard Allen was doing in Peru on the 12th in the morning of the 13th, the day that the girls were killed. Mexico is a hop, skip, and jump for Peru. Yes, it is. But it's definitely not Peru. GP says it would be crazy if he wrote a book about his crimes, and I believe he has other victims. Well, knowing what we know now, seeing that he has absolutely no remorse, right down to the sentencing hearing, he showed absolutely zero remorse. He's given no information about what happened, and it's almost as if he feels like he still might get away with this. Tells me that he could have other victims. I think there's more information out there to be had, especially from his coworkers. I would like to hear a lot from more of them. I know some have come forward. Some have come forward saying that he was a creepy guy, saying that he was always trying to jump scare them and saying creepy things and stuff like that. But I think we need to hear more. Yeah, we may not hear it, but we'll know what was said. I think so too, GP. I think it's very possible. Not only possible, but I think it's likely. Right, Lynn? It's a good one. Yeah, he was a very quiet person. I feel like I don't think you have to be in some kind of group or gang or biker club or any of that shit to be weird, dangerous, or scary, right? I think that you can be a loner and be all those things. You don't have to be all out in public with it or have some kind of crazy criminal record. All you need is that recipe for disaster. I think so too, nicely. I agree, Lulu. I think that played a huge part in what happened. Part of the anger, anyway. And we don't know if Abby had a phone. Maybe she had a burner phone. Maybe he took that. Maybe he still has that. The only people that would know if Abby had any kind of a burner phone would be Abby and Libby. They're no longer with us, and whoever she may have been communicating with. Yeah, something like that, right, Shane? Mustang says, I'll never understand how you get power from unaliving two children. Takes a coward, in my opinion. Yeah, it does take a coward. That's where they go searching to rejuvenate their life. Go listen to any of these serial killers or killers that have come forward, and they'll tell you that they get high off of it, that they've never been so high in their life, they've never felt that adrenaline rush, and how they relive it through trophies and stuff like that. It's pretty sick. Some sick shit. Oh, can you, Steve? It's a weird comment. Let's go to a super chat by Julia Burns. Thanks, Julia. Your ability to balance factual information and educated speculation makes for a great channel, and I respect you a lot as a person. Keep it up. Thank you, Julia. Couldn't do it without you guys. I definitely learn more from you than you guys do me, that's for sure. Thank you, Sparky. If you guys need to get a hold of me for whatever reason, feel free to shoot me an email at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Welcome in, Cheeks. How you doing? Happy Monday. Hey, Boston. Good to see you. Yep, his coworkers said they were getting bad vibes and that he was kind of a creep. Julie says there's not a whole lot Richard Allen could do being locked up for life on the inside if there's another player threatening the lives of his family on the outside. Yeah, and for all we know, if there are other people involved, maybe they could implicate Richard Allen in other crimes. Dang. Stay warm. You guys having a blizzard? Well, apparently, Sleuth and Mama, he did come clean. The question is, what about his credibility? You know, he could say that he killed John F. Kennedy. He still has to prove it. You know, he's a known liar. He's got every reason to lie. Just getting out of prison for the day and hanging out with the defense team is enough for him to lie. You know, he went on a field trip. They needed something tangible, something that they could present in court. And that fat piece of shit isn't presentable anywhere. Hey, what's up, Darkside? Yep, I'm almost certain of it. Just putting everything together from what we know about Richard Allen and the crime, the fact that he kept that gun. You know, I feel like this was a big event for him. This was the event that gave him his power back. At least that's what it looks like if you were to take a look at Kathy's Facebook. 2017, Richard Allen looks like a miserable. He's never smiling. He's kind of growling, acting weird in these videos. And then you have nothing about Richard Allen in 2007 other than him at his daughter's wedding, which was at the end of 2017. And then in 2018, he's looking healthy. He's taking vacations. He's hiking mountains. He's doing horseback in Tennessee. So it's as if he did get his power back. Yeah, sometimes that's what it's all about, Julie, is the thought, you know, oh, I could be caught, you know, I'm doing something forbidden. It's all about that forbidden part for a lot of people. That's why they cheat on their spouses. That's why they steal. That's why they become kleptos. And this happens to normal people. It's just that forbidden aspect of something that gets people high. They get off on it. All right, guys, we'll go to a couple more comments and then we got to go. What's up, the Saint? Welcome in. Good to see you. Hi, Watha. Good to see you. Yeah, we're getting out of here in a minute anyway. Dark Side Keegan and his dad was up early that morning. Wonder if that was normal. I always thought that was strange too. I just didn't see Keegan Klein being up at 8 a.m. for anything. I know that's not too early, but for him, I think that seems early. Yeah. Bunch of box cutters. Yeah, that's true, Saint. The fact that the defense didn't use KK is wild. In my opinion, KK and even TK would give jurors a reasonable alternative. Yeah, but the thing is, if you bring up Keegan or TK, the jury's going to wonder, are they connected to Richard Allen? Right? Richard Allen was in Peru that morning. Those folks are from Peru. No matter what, you can't keep somebody from not speculating. So I think that it wouldn't have been helpful for Richard Allen or the prosecution. Welcome in Modern Cards and Crime. The contrast of how New York handles things and how a small town like Delphi handles things is wild. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. Yeah, there's a huge difference between Richard Allen and the Long Island serial killer. Yeah, I don't think it's fair to compare those two. Two different type of men. One has a family that I think the only reason he has a family is to wear it like camouflage. The other has a family because can't be alone. Julie says he'll never apologize publicly on record. So he's going full steam ahead for the appeal. I hear you on that one. Welcome in, Tabitha. Purple Haze. Jody Lynn. Sorry, guys, if I missed you earlier. We are about to get out of here. But it is good to see you. Yep. I agree with you, Julia. I mean, why is Richard Allen leaving Peru, going home just to lair up, and then going directly to the trails? and then commits a double homicide. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. There's a motivating factor here, and I believe Abby and Libby are targeted. I just don't know what that is. All right, I'm going to go to one more down here at the bottom. Thank you, Boston. I appreciate that. Sorry I missed your chat. Your super chat. I apologize. Let's go to NH Mountains. Was there a fence preventing the girls from running away straight ahead to the fields where the house was? There was a cliff. So where Richard Allen had them, there was nowhere to go. So you have Richard Allen blocking the way back to the bridge or anywhere behind him. To Richard Allen's right is this huge, what looks to be like a 30 to 40-foot cliff. You can't go that way. The only other way to go is through the water. So even for Richard Allen, if he's panicked, he's thinking, okay, well, I just kidnapped these girls. I forced them. I'm here with two naked girls. I literally am now a kidnapper, and I've officially sexually assaulted them by forcing them to undress. I am now a criminal. The only place for him to escape, because he can't go back on the bridge, right? He's going to put himself in full display. In his mind, there is only one direction to go, and that's through the creek. And why would he go through the creek? Because he knows how shallow it is there. He's been there time and time again. He's crossed that bridge dozens of times. He's been under the bridge dozens of times. He's been at the crime scene dozens of times. He was very much at home there. Hey, sees through. What's up? Wannabe bodybuilder. Good to see you. About the Odinism theory, but there is damning evidence contained in the memorandum for the Franks. You're still on that Franks memo? Let me know what you think the Franks memo says about the yellow rope. Let me know about that. Very sharp knife too, Mustang. What's up, Ernest? Oh my God. Is he? You wasted your comment on that, huh? Bye. Elvis Fields confessed to two different sisters that he did something bad to two girls, even remarking to law enforcement that they found his spit on the girls and had. I think it's funny how everybody twists that. And I don't disagree with you. I don't think that Elvis didn't say those things. I also believe that Brad Holder told his ex-wife what he said about Patrick Westfall. But there's been a lot of different people who've confessed to this crime as well, in detail. So who was it? But I think it's funny that how everybody has to twist the words to try to make it fit. You know, if anything, be true to yourself. You know, let's start there. Well, wannabe bodybuilder, you shouldn't have to say I'm not here to troll if you're not trolling. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody was accusing you of trolling. But now we're curious. Welcome in Laura C. What's up, Tom? Tom, 142. I did about 8 months in solitary confinement and was fine. Was sentenced to 180 days and had to wait on transfer. So, Tom, you can probably tell us about the way other people were acting in solitary confinement, right? Some people can handle the solitude, but those who can't, they'll usually go right down that line with the smearing the feces and then banging their head against the wall in order to get out, get a shower, maybe go sit with the counselor or something. Some people can handle it and some can't. There you go, Julia. Diabetes. That's the word I was searching for. Diabetes. Good to see you, Hather's Mirror. Don Spain in the building. Good to see you. The crime is so calculated and brutal. How could this be his first time doing something like this? Well, it could have been the first time he ever felt something was this important or that he had ever been in, feeling this much rage. Yep. Yeah. And even if I thought he was a troll, I'm not going to just boot him out of here. Yeah, it's okay to have a difference of opinion. We welcome it. Just don't act like a triggered troll and you're good. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. I want to thank all of you who were able to catch the live stream and who participated in the chat. If you're part of the replay crew, you know what to do. Drop a comment. We'll get back to you. I want to give a special thanks to all my members, all my mods who keep the chat chill, everybody who's been donating to the Cash App, the Venmo, and the Zelle. Thank you guys. Couldn't do this without you. And I'll see you guys again later. We will be live again later tonight. So I'll keep you posted for that. Take care.